The Obama administration is urging Russia to hand over former NSA contractor Edward Snowden. Snowden's exact whereabouts are unknown right now, but he's believed to be at the Moscow airport. He landed in Moscow yesterday after boarding a flight from Hong Kong. There were reports that Snowden had planned to fly to Cuba, but so far there's no evidence that he's left Russia. In fact, the seat where he was supposed to be sitting on that flight to Cuba was empty. Regardless, the U.S. wants him back on American soil to face espionage charges. I want to get the latest now from Bloomberg News reporter Phil Mattingly, who is in Washington. So, Phil, the very latest, where do we think he is right now, and where is he going?
Well, Emily, we know for a fact that at least two entities know where he is. One of them is the WikiLeaks group. Julian Assange, the founder of the group, had a conference call earlier today. He said, we know where he is, he's safe, he's healthy, they're working on asylum plans, but he declined to say exactly where he'd be, obviously much to the frustration of the reporters on the conference call. The other group is the White House. Jay Carney just had his press availability over at the White House. The White House said they know where he is, and they gave a pretty good indication of where they think he is with one of Jay Carney's answers.
Given our intensified cooperation with Russia after the Boston Marathon bombings and our history of working with Russia on law enforcement matters, including returning numerous high-level criminals back to Russia at the request of the Russian government, that we do expect the Russian government to look at all the options available to them to expel Mr. Snowden back to the United States.
So clearly, obviously, as Jay Carney just said, the U.S. believes he's still in Russia, as you said, holed up at the airport. The big question now is, when is he leaving? And when he does leave, where is he going?
Now, Phil, let's rewind a little bit. How did he actually get from Hong Kong to Moscow? Who let him leave?
You know, Emily, it was interesting. Julian Assange today said it was a fascinating story, one that he was not going to tell us. That said, we know a couple things. The U.S. Justice Department has laid out a timeline. Basically, they filed charges against him on June 14th. That same day, they issued an arrest warrant that they assumed the Hong Kong government would end up going with. Since that time, it's been pretty much dead silence until Friday night. The Hong Kong government called the Justice Department and said, look, we have problems. We think there's some technical issues here. You need to answer these. The Justice Department was in the process of answering it when the Hong Kong government called them and said, hey, he's gone. Needless to say, U.S. officials are livid, kind of across the board, State Department, Justice Department, and at the White House. I think the big question is, we all want to know the story that Julian Assange knows, but one way or the other, U.S. officials believe that they were kind of misled on how this whole thing happened.
And we just got a statement, Phil, from White House Press Secretary Jay Carney to this very point. He said, we see no reason or justification for the failure to provisionally arrest Mr. Snowden in Hong Kong by Hong Kong authorities in accordance with our negotiated agreements. Just one last quick question, Phil. You know, what are the diplomatic implications between the United States and China of this very issue? You know, it's been a tenuous relationship recently, but President Obama and President Xi had supposedly made a lot of headway in the meeting that they had just recently.
Well, that's right, and I think U.S. officials were very happy to tout the meeting that they had earlier this month. The countries were working on a dialogue that was going to lead them into a better place. This does not help. Look, U.S. officials talking on background about being upset about China and what their role was in this, I think that's to be kind of accepted. Jay Carney just flat out said during his press availability that what Hong Kong is saying just does not make sense. It was not a technical decision. This was not a legal issue. The implication being flat out that China was involved, China had a role here, and this has a very negative impact on the relationship. I think this is a major step back when you talk to U.S. officials from where they were just a couple weeks ago when everybody was thinking very positive about the future here.